Look who we found. This is a guy that I've done over 60 podcasts with in the past on Daily Fish. This is John Hardison from the Game and Winning podcast, the best prognosticator I've ever seen. I don't know what happened to the guy. He used to come into my bar at Chuck's Tavern. All the girls asked about him. His wife said, "What are you doing up there?" He goes, "I'm signing autographs." He moves to Phoenix. It's 110 degrees for a month straight. Look at it. Look at that nice tan you got, brother. Welcome back to Fat Fish Sports, the Hardline. Welcome back, man. We missed you.
I missed you guys. This is my favorite time of year that we're getting ready for. Baseball's starting to slowly come to a close. Football's starting up. Baseball sooner or later. And then I'm getting a whole bunch of combat sports in between. I can't ask for a better time of year.
Oh, it's a great time of year. And before we get into chopping it up, you're doing good, right? You and your wife good?
Oh, everybody's good. It was hotter than hell in the handbasket down here for a long time. But you know what? We braved it. We got through it. It's getting better. And, I wish nothing on this for anybody how hot it's been.
Yeah, we had a hot one here. And it's funny. I don't know how June was in the Phoenix area, but here, oh my God, everyone walks in the bar. What a great June we had. And I said, it's coming. And July was probably one of the hottest Julys in record. I know Hardline, John Hardison. We're buddies for a long time. He lived in Vegas, moved away, and he moved to a hotter desert. But he's got a city with 4 major sports teams. Okay, segue into this. We're in rehearsal. We're going to talk about we have the U.S. We had the fight between Diaz. Who did Diaz fight last night?
Paul.
Yeah, but the real fight was between Tim Anderson and Ramirez, between the White Sox and the Guardians. Set it up for our fans out there and our listeners about what went down, and then tell me that line. Give us our audience the line you had in rehearsal. It's phenomenal.
They Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez, they have been jawing at each other for a little bit throughout the game, and Ramirez slid through Tim Anderson's legs. Tim Anderson was over second base. Ramirez didn't like it, and I got to give Tim Anderson credit. He threw down his glove and he wanted to go straight fisticuffs, and they start swinging at each other. And sometimes when God just connects at the right moment and they're touching hands, amazing things happen. Ramirez didn't even see him, just caught Tim Anderson right on the chin, and Tim Anderson went toppling over like a pile of books. I mean, he just fell over hard. And you know what? The bench is cleared. Some other guys got it. But honestly, that's probably the best clip in baseball over the last 15 years I could have watched. I will guarantee you that clip will get played more than Aaron Judge breaking that home run record last year.
Oh, and it's great. And you know what? How they trash talk and you got to go in the locker room. Tim Anderson's going to take shit from oh, my God, when he's out there, because he instigated it, and Ramirez was going down. He came across, if you look at the highlight, you get it on YouTube, he came across with a good roundhouse, and boom, man. I thought, I really thought it was George Foreman hitting on Ken Norton back in the day. I mean, and you see Anderson go down, and you can see the embarrassment. It's like when you're a boxer and you get hit like that and you jump up really quick. It's like, remember when Rocky hit Apollo Creed and Rocky won? He jumped back up. He's looking around. Oh, my God, that did not just happen. You're right. That'll be the most watched baseball highlight. And you're going to have Scott Van Pelt on ESPN is going to have a great time with that, with bad beats and stuff like that.
Hey, I mean, that's what the MLB needs, though. I mean, look, it's been hurting with ratings. That probably gives it a huge rating push. That's, even though people say it's too much, that's what you want. Everybody wants the clips. Everybody wants the must-see TV.
Yeah. You talked about the great time of the year. I mean, to me, we have 2 times. You have March Madness, got the basketball, and you have the hockey playoffs and baseball starting. For me, it's October, because you got the NBA and hockey starting late October, and you got college football and NFL, and then you got baseball going into their playoffs. Speaking about college football, and this affects you, what the fuck is going on with the Pac-10 or Pac-12 in literally a week? This thing dismantled. It's like the movie Independence Day when everyone attacked and all the cities went down. The Pac-12 right now, you and I and our wives could beat Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, and Cal. That's what's left of the Pac-12. You're a big Michigan guy. Hardlines from Michigan, Detroit teams, the Michigan Wolverines. Now you get USC and UCLA. We knew about that. Now you're adding Oregon and Washington to have us watching a 16-team conference. 2 things I want to ask you, and I'll stop talking. What do you think about the dismantled Pac-12 and the ramifications of that? And how do you like that 16 teams going into the Big Ten?
So I'll start off by saying this. This has been something a long time coming that a lot of people have been talking about, which is if you do have a Super Five, what does that do for the rest of the nation? What does this do for a lot of the rest of the teams? It's a money grab. It's clearly a money grab. The divisions make absolutely no sense. I don't know how necessarily you even stagger the games because now you're dealing with people that live on the West Coast that are diehard USC fans versus people that are Michigan fans. I don't even know what's the point of the Rose Bowl anymore, honestly, because it used to take the best of the Pac-12 and the best of the Big Ten and used to combine them against each other. Now it's just a regular bowl game, almost like the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl or whoever PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, whoever now is the name sponsor of it. It's sad. It takes a lot of great history away from the Pac-12. I don't know what the Pac-12 is doing anymore. I know that Arizona State has officially been, I believe, welcomed into the Big 12. So Colorado, Arizona State, a lot of these teams are now going. We're now going into a Power Five conference, and I think that this shows exactly kind of what the NBA was talking about, where the NBA's problem right now is it's hard to sell the league when people only care about specific players. Now it's hard to sell a conference when there's no regional exclusivity to it because it's all over the place now. When you were a Pac-12 guy, you could talk mess about, people in California, people in Utah, people in Arizona. Now everybody's all over the place. You don't even know who's in what anymore. There's no really regional alliance. It's a huge money grab. It's sad. It's sad to see what's the history of the Pac-12, especially when you consider all the great players that have come out of the Pac-12. When we talk about OJ, you talk about Reggie Bush, you talk about Teddy Bruschi, and now all that history is just gone. My biggest concern is what does this mean for the regional teams that are in that area? Maybe there are teams that get boosts. Maybe there are teams that get pushed to a better conference because they have to realign this, and maybe it makes it better. At this point, I don't know. But we're in an issue. We're in a big problem over the next 10 years. What does this mean for a school? I'll give you an example like Toledo. Like, where do they go from there? Or what does this mean for a school like UNLV? Where do they go? Because I know that they said at one point, San Diego State, I believe, was trying to leave the Mountain West, which is, one of their cash cows. How does this affect them? Do they get promoted? Do they stay the same? What does this work for TV rights? There's a lot of questions that are on the table right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump on that one. I want to ask about the 16 teams. I think it's too many. You're absolutely, I agree with you 1,000%. I grew up in Los Angeles. You grew up in Michigan. So you used to Ohio State and Michigan. You still have that rivalry. When you grew up in LA, you're a USC or UCLA fan. And a lot of years when I grew up, it came down to those two teams playing for the city championship and the conference championship and getting a chance to play in the Rose Bowl. Now it's all over the place. Is USC going to play UCLA for the division in the Big Ten? And then you're going to have Colorado and Arizona playing for a division in the Big 12. Who's going to go to the Rose Bowl? And here's another thing that pisses a lot of people. Oregon State and Oregon has been a rivalry for over 70 years. After this year, it dissipates. It's over. You're taking rivalries away. Look, I have mixed feelings about my alma mater, University of Texas. Them and Oklahoma are going in 2024 to the SEC. Why the fuck would you want to go into the SEC? You have 5 teams every year in the SEC, and you know this, Hardline, because you handicap, that are always in the top 20. Mississippi State, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. Georgia's a powerhouse. I don't get this. I know it's about money. I know that they're afraid of streaming. The Pac-12 network lost its deal, and the only one to offer them a deal was Apple TV. And people are a little weary right now still of streaming. Amazon is not hit like they thought it was with the NFL. Okay. YouTube TV will because they have the Sunday ticket, so you're forced to get it. But still, I bet you their subscriptions are less than it was at DirecTV. Let's circle back. You got 16 teams right now in your conference in 2 divisions. What I like about it is you're not going to have Michigan playing Troy State or Cimarron Memorial High School. You're gonna have some great games to start the season. What I don't like about it is some of the traditional rivals, like you said, are not going to mean as much. Do you agree?
No, I absolutely agree. And a lot of this has to do with recruiting, because now Harbaugh, I guarantee you, is sitting in Michigan saying, I could get some guys from California. It opens me up now. And I could tell them, hey, you could play against USC. You could have your family come. This opens you up for this. If I'm USC, think about the plethora of offensive linemen, defensive tackles, and linebackers I can pull from the Midwest now and say, do you want to play in the cold? Do you want to play in Buckeye country? Or do you want to come out here to LA where the women are beautiful, the streets are long, the beaches are sandy, and you don't have to worry about snow any time of the year, and you can get a first-class education? Why would you want to be in Ohio and you could come to California? It's a selling point. It's a smart move. It's huge.
Huge. Great. That's a phenomenal point. Bravo. Yeah, you got to think about that. Now that you can recruit everywhere. I mean, and what does that mean for the Iowa was a decent team in that, but you're right. The team, I'll tell you who's going to lose to. How about Rutgers and Maryland are in the Big Ten, if I'm not correct, and they're going to lose out recruits to USC and UCLA. The same thing with the Big 12. You want to go? Deion Sanders, his recruiting class is phenomenal. Okay. Yeah. And the Buffaloes have been they've been a doormat. I think they've been a doormat since Michael Westbrook was there with Salinesi and McCarthy. Remember when what's the quarterback's name? That was damn it, from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, not Rocket. You're talking about Cordell
Stewart and Michael Westbrook. But that's years ago that they were relevant. There's good in college football. But again, it's all about the TV money, the TV contracts. The Longhorn Network makes $100 million a year. They have their own network.
There's one team.
The Longhorns.
There's one team I would say that even though it's about the money, and I understand why they wouldn't leave, if I was Iowa, knowing what's coming, I would maybe consider transferring to the Big 12, only because that way I could get that rivalry with Iowa State, and being the bigger name, you might be able to command a little bit more. Not at UCLA, USC is in there. Yeah, you're getting the money, but what are your chances of really winning? And if you're Iowa, I don't think it's too high for a run first team.
Let's wrap this up with this. What are your sources telling you? What's going to happen with Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, and Cal? Stanford and Cal are big names. Oregon State and Washington State. Washington State had some great years with Leach, rest in peace. What are you hearing? Are they going to go to the Mountain West? Are they going to be independents? I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to absorb the Iowas and start their own conference? What do you think?
So there's been talks that Stanford may be looking to go to the Big Ten as well. There's also, I would think that if they want to keep it a little bit more regional, maybe you go to the Big 12. I mean, because then you have Colorado that's there, put you a little bit close. You still could tap into that market as well. Stanford's in a unique situation in that it produces good football players, but because their academic standards are so high, it makes it a little bit more difficult, going down that route. And if you're looking at academic standards, I definitely think that them being absorbed by the Big 10 or whatever it be, Big 16, Big 20, whatever they're going to call themselves now, Big Bertha, would make the most sense.
Yeah, cool. Segue to this, props. Last time we talked, we were going into the NBA playoffs and the Major League Baseball season starting. And my man, the Hardline right here, said, Fish, I know you're a Laker guy, but the Denver Nuggets are going to win the championship. And I said, horse shit. And he said, yeah, there's a Joker in Batman and there's a Joker in the NBA. You're 1,000% right. Now, the last few years, props to Fish. I hate to do this. We pick a team that's over and under 60 or 61 games. I had the Orioles last year on Daily Fish with this guy. Bingo. I need the Reds to win 4 games out of their last 51 to cash a ticket at the end of the year, because I had the Cincinnati Reds. So we'll go there first. I'll go me first. I looked at what every single publication said about pitching. I look at pitching staffs, and they said the Reds' young pitching staff is going to be a sleeper, and they've proven to be a very decent team this year. Do you think in the offseason right now, because I don't, I think Phoenix is really bettered themselves with Bradley Beal. I don't think Chris Paul going to the Golden State Warriors is going to do anything because the guy can't stay healthy. And the Lakers don't show me much. Do you think anyone in the West could compete with Denver? I know it's early, but they'll be going to training camp in 5-6 weeks in the 23-24 season. And keep this in the back of your mind. Do you think that Christian Porzingis went to the Celtics, correct?
Yes, Christoph.
Is he the key in that Eastern Conference to overtaking the Miamis and Philadelphia be back and some of the good teams in the East? Let's go West first, my question, and go East.
You know what? Look, Denver lost a lot of key pieces this year. I mean, they let Bruce Brown go.
Sure.
They let a lot of those key pieces go. I think that they'll still be formidable. I don't see them winning back to back. I still like the Joker. I think that he's a early preseason MVP to win it all. But they play in a very rough division. I mean, you're talking about division, even conference. You know, you're talking about Golden State. You're talking about um, Phoenix. You're talking about the Clippers, and you're also talking about the Lakers. If I had to choose right now one to make it out of there, I think that I would probably choose. It's easy to say the Lakers because of what they see on paper. I'll go Phoenix. And the only reason I go with Phoenix is I think that they got a little bit more depth to get them over the hump if injuries do come into play. I think that's why you went and you got Bradley Beal in case Kevin Durant goes down to pick up that scoring. In regards to the Lakers, if you look at it, everything goes through Anthony Davis. And you got to God hope that Anthony Davis gets at least 70 something games or 60 high 60s and doesn't get injured. Because when Anthony gets injured, that whole makeup of that team changes drastically. You know, same with the Clippers. When Kawhi goes down, it changes drastically. You're never going to get a full season out of Kawhi. So I think right now it's Phoenix. And if I don't think that Golden State with Chris Paul is better, I think that it brings a guy that has a lot of playoff experience, a lot of experience in general. But again, he's older, and as you say, he's definitely injury prone. If I had to look for a team out in the West to keep an eye on, depending on the situation, how it goes, I still would look at New Orleans. New Orleans was good last year, especially early on. Unfortunately, Zion got injured. But if Zion's back, that's definitely a team to definitely keep your eye on. In the East, Kristaps Porzingis is good. I mean, but he played on the Washington Wizards that was an abysmal team that couldn't get his head out of its butt to save itself, even in that conference. I think that it makes them better. I think it does make the Boston Celtics better. Do I think it gets them over the hump? I don't necessarily know because, again, they got this guy that's just a pure dog in Miami by the name of Jimmy Butler. And come hell or high water, he finds a way to win no matter how good your squad is. And if they get Damian Lillard, I got to put them number one. I got to put them number one in East if they can get.
I forgot about that. And Jim, when they had the 3-1 lead on the Celtics and they went to Game 7, Jimmy Butler he put that team, Miami Heat, on his back. No cliches intended, and just ran with it. It's just a complete baller. I agree with everything you just said. It's always injuries, and then Fat Fish podcast goes weekly. We're going Tuesdays with Brad Grunberg, is my co-host, and he's a huge basketball guy, and he knows the lingo. He could chop it up with Hardline. It's his favorite sport. He knows the technique of basketball, the crossover step. He knows everything about the game. And he's a big Warriors guy because he's one of his very dear friends that he knows from college and hung out together with Steve Kerr, right? I'm not buying the Warriors. I'm not, okay? There's just something about that. The whole team is based on the perimeter game. And I think the teams that are going old school, when we grew up, John, everyone attacked the perimeter. What did John Wooden and every great coach, John Thompson at Georgetown, said? Attack the perimeter, hit the key, draw the foul. It's better to get 3 points, going for it than getting 2. And so it's going to be fun. The NBA is going to come quick, but we have to save the best for the last. Hardline was 68% last year, prognosticating the National Football League. And Hardline, today's Sunday, is the last Sunday without football until February. Next Sunday's a full slate of NFL games. By the way, look at the ticket prices. The Raiders have a home preseason game next week against the San Francisco 49ers. The tickets are going for $300 and people are buying it. I bought season tickets for the Raiders in LA in 82 for $300 for 10 games. It's sick. But the preseason's here. I'm going to ask you, give me 2 teams. Give me 2 teams that did make the playoffs last year in each conference. I'll go 2. You go. Want me to go first? You can think about it?
Go ahead.
We're unscripted. All right. It's real simple in this one. I think in the NFC, I think the 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that will are the Detroit Lions and a toss-up between the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints, only because that division is so god-awful. I shouldn't say god-awful, but the quarterback, Derek Carr, left the division in the AFC with Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes. And he walks into a division right now with the Atlanta Falcons having Desmond Ridder, a rookie in Bryce Young with Carolina, and Kyle Trask is actually beating out Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. So I think by attrition, Derek Carr. We talked about, I loved what the Lions, how they finished the season last year with Jared Goff. Those are my two teams. In the AFC, to me, I'm going to piss a lot of people off. I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to make, everything I hear about Anthony Richardson is that he said it's unreal that this kid, before he went to the combine, was a 5th round draft pick. Not only was he taken 5th in the draft, you listen to Steven, every single pundit is saying this is the next coming. He's a combination of Andrew Luck and Randall Cunningham. That's one team, all right? How the hell can you go? Wow, this is going to be a tough one. The Cleveland Browns, number 10 defense last year, and they added receivers. You got to think Deshaun Watson only played 5-6 games last year. If he quits getting hand jobs on tables, he's going to stick his hand on a football and throw it. So I got Cleveland, Indy, and the NFC. I got the Detroit Lions and the Orleans Saints. You go.
So I'll go with you on New Orleans. I just think that division's just god awful. I just don't think that there's anything down there. And again, it's going to make Derek Carr give people that I told you so. But again, it's I told you so when you're not playing anybody that's good. And that's really a big issue kind of going on down there for them. Also in the NFC, I'm going to go with, you know what? I like Detroit. I got to agree with you. I just think that they're that close. Again, it all depends on how they start off. This is actually the best part about Detroit. This is the first time since they've moved back down to the city of Detroit, since 2002, that they've had a sold-out season. They've never sold out in the 20-plus years that they've been down there. So I think that they have a great team. Matthew Berry has said his sleeper pick is Amon-Ra St. Brown, amazing wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. There's only been, I think, one guy that's been better than him, which is Justin Jefferson, since he got his full reps in. I think they're ready to go. I think that they got the pieces to be great. In the AFC, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Jets, because the Jets didn't make it last year. I think that they're better, especially if they could get Breece Hall back. They're a great run team. They've got a much better passing quarterback this year to get them over the hump.
A little bit better, yeah.
just a tad to get them there. In terms of a team that didn't make it last year, I'm gonna go with Denver. I think Sean Payton's attitude makes them a better team. I think that they finally got somebody in there to help out Russell Wilson be a better quarterback than what you got last year. And look, last year he took a lot of sacks. A lot of people just look at, he wasn't throwing the ball the way it was. He didn't have anybody blocking for him. I think he was like top 3 in sacks last year. It was a bad season. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't really throw the ball. A lot of their guys got injured. I think this is a bit of a turnaround season for them.
Okay, the Jets. People said, I'm getting texts. Why did you pick the Jets? Because I'm looking at their schedule. 4 of their first 6 games are the Bills, at Dallas, Kansas City, and at Philadelphia. They can lose all 4 of those games. I'm not big on Dallas, but it's the second week of the season. It's imperative they get out to a great, because if you look at the end of their schedule, it's Houston, it's the Raiders, and I'm big on the Raiders. I think the Raiders last year was the most frustrating season. You see the flag in the back. You lived here. You were happy for the Raiders. I think with Jimmy G strings, that's what they call him. By the way, I got a picture of Jimmy G. So you want to say hi to you and say, hey, this I don't know if that's Photoshop or not, but Hardline. He's got I always say this every time. I love it. I love the fact he's got a $500,000 line of credit at the Larry Flynn Hustler Club here in Las Vegas, and he's one of the guys. I think if they stay healthy and you get production out of Chandler Jones and the offense is much, we talked about Derek Carr last year, they were still the 12th rated offense in the league. And Josh Jacobs is not sitting out the entire season. Stop everyone. He's going to come back. No one sits out a season anymore. All right. I think the Raiders can win 8 or 9 games. What do you think?
I think they could definitely win 8 games, probably 9. They might back into the playoffs. It just kind of depends on how things go. But look, I like their trajectory. The real question is, like you said, is Josh Jacobs going to come back? If they don't get Josh Jacobs, be on the lookout for maybe a Kareem Hunt. is somebody that they look at, maybe trying to pick up to push them over the edge because Kareem Hunt can catch the ball. He can run between the tackles. I mean, a lot of people forget how good he was when he played for Kansas City.
Well,
Not like a little bit of many moons ago until he got into that situation off the field. But look, you're talking about the Jets. There's a lot of winnable games the Jets have. I think that people look at them and they say, oh, it's a tough division. And it is because there's Buffalo and Miami. But Miami's questionable in terms of Tua Tagovailoa, if he's going to be healthy or not because of his concussion injury. But they play Cleveland, they play Washington, they play Atlanta, they play the Giants. I mean, there's a lot of winnable games. I'm not saying that they're going to go, 14-3, but I am saying is I wouldn't be surprised if they went 10-7 or maybe 11-5 and just happen to get, a wild card spot.
I'll give you a team. The New York Giants are a team that gets zero respect. 9-7-1 last year with the worst skill position players. David Sills and Richie James are their starting receiver. You're saying who? Right. One guy got let go, and they still have managed to win 9 games. And you had that receiver room. If you watch college football like I know you do, Jalen Hyatt was an absolute stud for Hendon Cooker last year. Pick up Paris Campbell. Darren Waller is killing it. The Giants are going to make the playoffs again. Okay. I'm going to give you my Super Bowl picks right now. I'm not going on a stretch right here until you could. This is the thing about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. You still got Burrow at Cincinnati. You said Josh Allen in Buffalo and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. They're not scared. Okay. Until you beat Kansas City, I'm going with them. Look how loaded the goddamn Philadelphia Eagles are. They get Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in the first round of the draft, 2 studs like that. They are loaded. And the NFC is not what it was last year. So I hate to say it. I think as of today, it's going to be a repeat. What do you think on the top of your head?
Normally, in terms of Super Bowls, the same 2 teams don't go back. Usually there's hangover. You know what? I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think they finally stopped penalizing themselves enough that they make the right decision to get over the hump, because really each game between them and Kansas City has been basically a guy jumping off sides or a guy getting a late hit, and it could go either way. In terms of the NFC, I don't think Philly is going to get back. I think that it's hard to have that to replicate that over again. I think that they're an amazing team. I just don't think that they'll get there. I'll go with I hate them. They're not going to get there. I'll go with San Francisco. I think that they could just get over the hook. I'm still not a huge San Francisco fan, and it's a stretch because I still don't understand their quarterback situation necessarily. How they say when nobody's got tape on you, you look great. When everybody's got tape on you, it shows who you really are. With Purdy, we're going to see. If he struggles those first 5 games, it could be a long season for San Francisco.
Still, I love your picks because San Francisco still had the number 1 defense last year, and they picked up Javar Hargroves, a number 1 free agent. They got the kid out of Philadelphia at sacks to bolster that great defensive line. I'm gonna give you a statement before we get out of here, and I want your opinion. I'm gonna go 2 statements, and we'll elongate this a bit. I think there's 4 quarterbacks, always 4 quarterbacks and coaches on the hot seat start the season. I don't care what anyone says. Now I'm gonna say these 4. And not in any order. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones are all 4 quarterbacks on the hot seat. 2 of those guys could be good dead cap space, and Prescott and Russell Wilson. Mac Jones and Justin Fields in their 3rd year, which is critical because they pick up that option. People love Justin Fields, and how the NFL players gave him 20 slots ahead, the top 100 over Trevor Lawrence, is mind-boggling. I don't buy it. When Ryan Clark goes at ESPN and Stephen A. Smith, we picked him as a higher player than Trevor Lawrence because he's excitable. Excitable doesn't win fucking games, all right? Who's a great quarterback that was excitable, that ran the ball? Michael Vick. So yeah. I want your 4 quarterbacks because Fields has to step up this year. I like the guy. He is excitable.
My 4, I'll go with Mac Jones. I think this is and they've kind of hinted at this is kind of a do or die season for him. We'll kind of see, although I kind of do give him a little bit of a pass because Matt Patricia was his offensive coordinator, and what a bumfuck. The second person I'll give you would be Kenny Pickett. I think that this is a little bit of a make or break for him. He's a good guy, but Tomlin is a guy that doesn't have losing seasons, and I think he keeps flirting with that a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be that much better, but we'll see. Ryan Tannehill, I think that, especially down in Tennessee, you either got to say that this is all in, or you're going to say, look, we got to go our separate ways. Derrick Henry's only getting older. Our window of opportunity is closing. And the last guy I'll say would be, oh man, trying to figure out where I want to go. I'll say Daniel Jones. No, they just resigned Daniel Jones. I'll say,
No way.
I wouldn't say him. I would say, Derek Carr. I would say Derek Carr because I think the idea really is, are we really trying to win with this guy? Is this really like a guy that we think we can win with in the next 3 years? Or are we hoping that this guy helps us tank, that we can get the best quarterback coming out, maybe a Caleb Williams?
Well, that's what I love about you. You take a reach because Daniel Jones had a great year. 16
Yeah.
touchdowns, 5 picks, 800 yards rushing. He willed the Giants, him and Barkley, to the playoffs. Carr just on a big contract. So it's always dead catfish. They're going to give him a couple of years. We'll see how it plays out. We'll archive this. Here's my coaches on the hot seat. I got 2 big ones. Okay, you need to help me with this. And I got a third you're gonna laugh at. Or maybe scratch it. Obviously, Josh McDaniels, because the Raiders got him out of the 4th year with him. And Mike McCarthy, I think, is on the hot seat. And guess what? I think my third one is, don't be shocked if Sean McVay, if the Rams have a really bad year this year, is on the hot seat. Give me your 3.
I could say Sean McVay. That's a situation to keep your eye on. The other one would be what's his name? Mike McCarthy. I would definitely say he's on the hot seat as well. I think that they've got to really make a nice run in the playoffs to see where they're going. The other person I would probably say would be Harbaugh in Baltimore. I think that there's a lot of questions there. They haven't been winning the way that they have been, and he might be looking for something different. And the last person I would say is, who's the head coach of Chicago right now?
Matt Eberflus, but he's in the 2nd year. But
but
he better. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, look, coaches also don't stay long.
Here's a Cave and I in this scenario. I want your opinion on this real quick. This is the second time, I've never seen this before, that the New Orleans Saints have hired John Gruden as a consultant with the offense. There's 2 things that concern me. One is Derek Carr not picking up the offense, and it's real simple because Dennis Allen is a shitty coach. He was horrible at the Raiders. He was 7-10 last year. And if you look at Andy Dalton's stats, they were the same as Carr, the exact same. And Jameis Winston, by the way, is crushing it. I still think Derek Carr is going to win 10 games, have a good year. I totally agree with what you said earlier. But there's something missing there. I would not be shocked if Dennis Allen, if they get up to a bad start, gets canned, and John Gruden fly. Because John Gruden's proving, even though he's a racist in his emails, I think the league's going to jump off that. They're afraid what's going to come out in that lawsuit and then ease it up. It's a court of public opinion whether we let him back into coaching or not. You can never forget what he said, and especially if you're African American or Jewish or a woman, he attacked all those, but he's not college recruiting. In the NFL, people seem to forgive, and it's also an email. I'm one of these guys that, the real truth came out, but it's private. It's a private email. If I say something private to you in an email, that's between you and me. Do you agree?
I disagree, especially if it's company email. You know the rules. Company emails get the ability to kind of look at everything. But what I would say
is, 1,000% right. I'm an idiot. You're right.
But
I forgot it was a private email. Yes. If it's a confusion, that schmuck was using it's right. He was using the company computer. Yeah.
So here's the thing.
He was using ESPN's computer because he did it when he was an ESPN guy. He wasn't with the team back then in 2003 and 4.
No.
Remember he did quarterback camp and he was doing all kinds of shit. Yeah. He was a goddamn sim with he was doing Monday Night Football.
If they hadn't gotten rid of Snyder just recently and got Snyder to sell the team, I think that you're right. They probably went back off of this. But now that
why do you think Snyder was forced to sell the team? Because the emails that Gruden wanted exposed were the ones he was going with him, And if there's one N-word or there's one derogatory thing about homosexuals in that thing from an NFL owner, when Jerry Richardson did it, the old owner of Carolina, they had him selling 2 weeks later, So Daniel said there's a lot of politics. All I'm saying is I think it's really interesting that Derek Carr, John Gruden got hired as a consultant for the second time in the offseason. If I'm Dennis Allen looking over my shoulder, that's the hard line right there. This guy still got to have him back. He'll be on weekly. Next week, we're going to do our over and unders on the teams. We're going to say, okay, John, the Raiders are over under 7.5. This guy is great. The Game of Winning podcast on Spotify and Apple. He's back on Fat Fish Sports. We had him on Daily Fish. and the guy was great. But I came to Fat Fish because he's fat for the fish. Got nothing to say on that, do you?
You know what? You took the words right out of my mouth.
We miss you. We got fried shrimp. You know what? When you left coming into Shucks, the U.S. Foods rep said, "You're not ordering what the hell? You're not ordering fried fish anymore for the basket. What? Hardison leave?" Good seeing you, man. Have a great weekend. This is the last Sunday without football, Mr. Hardison. Love it.
Ooh, love it.
It's time. Then the NBA soon. Talk to you, brother.
Talk to you soon.